Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be talking to you about how to choose an investment location or area for your first or next investment property. Now I know this probably goes without saying, but choosing the right investment location is so key. Like, it's a lot more important in a way anyway than if you're choosing a location for a residential property, because at the end of the day the main reason for this property is for it to generate money for you, and so if you do not pick the right location then it's not going to be able to do that. So anyway, in the usual way that I do things, I've got a couple of points, well about 7 or 8 really, 7 or 8 points to go through with you guys to basically have or take into consideration when deciding where to buy an investment property. Right, so first things first, when deciding on a location for an investment property, you need to identify what your goals are with, the property. Is it that you're looking for monthly cash flow? Is it that you're looking for long-term capital appreciation? Or are you looking for both? If it's cash flow that you're after, you can buy in a really cheap area where your mortgage payments are going to be low and the rental income quite high. If it's capital growth that you're after, you want to look at growth criteria and stats. So basically, what's growth been like in the last 2 to 3 years or 5 years? Is there anything coming up like new development? Are there going to be any like new train lines or anything that's going to bring like growth and basically increase in house prices to the area? A good example of this actually is Greenwich, which has seen like 9% growth in the last 3 years and 17% growth in the last 5 years. So that's a good example of something that's seen good capital growth, because obviously a lot has happened in the area. There's been loads of developments and that's naturally increased the prices of property. On the other hand, however, you're not going to get rental yields as high as somewhere like Nottingham, and that's simply because house prices are so much more expensive, and rental income is not always as high as what you can get in somewhere like Nottingham, and so yeah, the yield is definitely a lot lower. If you're after cash flow and capital growth, then you basically want to buy in an area whereby like rental income is going to be high enough to cover your costs, so like your mortgage payments for example, but also leave enough remaining as your profit. So it may not be loads profit, but like it's still going to be something decent. As well as that, you want to make sure that you buy in an area whereby like property values are increasing, so there's growth in the area. To be honest, Nottingham is a good example of a place where basically you can get capital growth as well as monthly cash flow, and that's simply because although property prices are cheap, the area has seen so much growth in the last 3 to 5 years. The next factor that you want to consider before deciding on an investment location is rental demand. So are you buying in an area whereby there's a lot of demand and interest in renting, or is it an area whereby most people tend to own their homes rather than rent? You really want to find out these things, because you don't want to buy in an area where like you're going to find it hard to get people on your property. So yeah, do your research, do proper like due diligence, speak to agents if you can, and check online listings. Can you see properties online that have been listed for a long while now and nobody seems to be taking them up? If so, that may be a sign that maybe it's not a good area for renting, or it may be a seasonal thing, but you just want to make sure, you want to double check and make sure that it's not a case where it's a bad area for renting. The third factor that you want to take into consideration is basically to buy in upcoming areas, so areas whereby new developments are coming. So I spoke about this briefly earlier in the video, but yeah, it's just the idea of buying whereby definitely a lot of growth is coming. So for example, buying a property in one of the locations whereby the HS2 train line network is going to run through may be a good idea, because naturally house prices in those areas will increase. So the next factor to consider is that the location needs to work for your chosen strategy. So if you're doing a buy to let, is it a location where rental yields are, high or good? Is it an area where cash flow is going to be good for you? If it's a HMO strategy that you're doing, are rental figures in the area even high enough? Like, is it worth you spending time or money to turn that property into a compliant HMO? Like, are rental figures high enough? If it's a BRR or flip that you're doing, is it an area whereby after you do a refurb, the GDV of the property is going to significantly increase? Also, will there be a good return on investment? The next factor to take into consideration, or even question to ask yourself, is basically like, is there at least a rental yield of 5%? Now I always say 5% personally, because I feel like with 5% you can make sure that even after all of your costs on the property, you still have some profit to take home. Factor number 6 is that the location must align with your target market. Like, you should have a target market for your investment property. So as your target market students, if so, you want to buy an investment property in a like university city. So Birmingham, Nottingham, Manchester, like there's loads of them all over the place. So yeah, if it's students, you want to make sure you get a property in one of those cities. If it's professionals that you're targeting, are there offices or other places of work nearby? Or if not, is the property location on the commuter belt, and basically is the property near enough to a train station so that if people need to commute out of the town or city for work, they can do that with ease? And if it's families that you're targeting, are there good schools nearby, like parks, hospitals, places whereby families are going to want to raise their children? Is it a safe neighborhood? Factor number 7 to take into consideration is basically what's the job market like. So regardless of your target market, whether it's families, students, professionals, I feel like it's always good to get a place whereby, like, you know, there's always jobs in the area, or like jobs are increasing. Maybe an office is moving its head office site over to that location, or maybe there's warehouses nearby. Like, you know, get an area whereby jobs are, you know, in abundance, so that even if you can't get people in your target market, there are people that are working and can afford to rent your property. Factor number 8 to take into consideration. So you want to get a property in a location whereby it's close to amenities, like good transport links, so it's close enough to a train station so you can walk there ideally, or just, you know, a short bus ride. I'd personally avoid getting a place whereby you need like a couple of buses before you can get to the train station or town or city centre. Like, I just feel like that's not appealing. As well as being close to standard amenities and transport, you may also want to get a place that's, you know, close to good schools and also like a hospital, you know, and things like that that people need. And last but not least, factor number 9, you want to buy a property in a location that's not too far away from where you live. And I say that really regardless of whether you decide to get an agent to manage a property for you or not. I just feel like you want to be able to keep an eye on that property. So even if you have an agent managing the property and, you know, doing the whole management for you, from time to time you still want to be able to check on the property, see how things are, see the condition of it, and just to make sure that everything's intact. Because, you know, my experience in the past with an agent wasn't great, and so yeah, I just feel like you want to be on your toes, especially if it's your first investment property. If you do decide to go with a management company to look after your property for you, or a letting agent, then I just say make sure you do your due diligence and ideally get a referral from someone who's used that agent previously. So guys, that brings me to the end of this video. If you found it useful, please do give it a thumbs up, and as always, if you have any other topic ideas that you'd like me to cover, please do let me know down in the comments and I'll create a video on that topic for you. So yeah, thanks for watching and I'll catch you later. Bye.